My husband never leaves the golf course. And now I know why. It's not hard for most people to imagine how the death of a child could destroy a marriage. And that's what happened to John and I. Jack was 8 years old when he was diagnosed with an incredibly rare and aggressive bone cancer. We were initially closer than we had ever been in the fight for our child's life, but ultimately losing that battle broke us. That, and the fact that my husband never leaves the golf course. John started taking Jack golfing the moment that he could walk. He got him a putter for his second birthday, and they golfed almost every weekend for most of Jack's life. After Jack got sick, John continued taking him out until he just simply couldn't any longer. Even then, John still booked every tea time for two, and never just for himself. Jack died on a sunny afternoon late last spring, and John and I started growing apart almost immediately. I got counseling and I joined a support group for bereaved parents, and I begged John to come. Instead, he immediately installed a statue of Jack on the 9th fairway at his country club. It was our baby boy in bronze, frozen in the finishing stroke, with the club over his shoulder, his face looking off into the horizon where the sun sets. That's where John began spending all of his time. He left before the sun came up every morning and played all 18 holes after work every single day. I barely saw him, and when I did, we barely spoke. I tried everything I could think of to bridge the gap between us. I even went as far as to buy my own set of clubs and learn the basics, and surprised him one Saturday while walking up to him. It went fine for like 8 holes, but seeing Jack's face cast in bronze was too much for me. We kept growing apart and we started living separate lives. I started seeing friends again, and I began volunteering at the children's hospital in my free time. John slept in the guest bed, and it was hard for me to even know when he was home and when he was out. Almost certainly on the course. I suppose that's why I didn't even notice when he went missing. His mother called and said she hadn't heard from him in weeks. I checked with work. They said that he had simply stopped showing up. Friends said he had been on the links recently, but nowhere else. And when I checked the recordings from our video doorbell, I saw that he hadn't even been home in at least 3 days. I promised his mother that I would find him, and I knew where to check. When I pulled up to the country club, the attendant must have sensed my frustrated desperation, because he gave me a card to go and find John. I drove past each tee and each hole, save for the 9th. I just couldn't bring myself to see that statue again. When my search came up empty, I realized I had skipped the one place where he had to be. I called him and I texted him, begging him to just tell me that he was okay, so I could tell his mother without having to see that thing again. Finally, I drove back to the 9th, calling, hanging up, and calling him again the entire way. He wasn't at the tee, nor was he on the green. Finally, I pulled off to the statue, shielding my eyes from the setting sun, and there was John next to it. I called angrily to him, and I could hear his phone was still ringing, but he didn't respond. As I stormed up to him, he was in the finishing position, just like Jack's statue, standing right next to it, like they were staring off into the sunset together. I came around to face him, and then I saw him. The sun shone against the high relief of his brown face, and the cell phone was still ringing inside his metal pocket.